Yes, welcome to the stream. Big ups. All right. Let's get straight into it. All right, if you do not know, James Trafford has been linked with Man City quite a bit. Ederson and Ortega from the get-go going into the summer, their futures have been a bit uncertain. No one's really known what's going to happen with them. It's always been a bit of a question mark. And we are getting a bit of news. We're finally getting news as City fans, okay? And not just on outgoings, on incomings. You know, it's not just like an academy player leaving. It's an actual key player over many years who is looking like more out than in at the moment. And if you haven't guessed already, that is Ederson. Been at the club since 2017, so he's had an 8-year stay so far. He's been here for a very long time, to be fair, and he's done great things with us, obviously. You don't need me to tell you that. And it's looking like James Trafford could be who we go in for to be the replacement. It's looking much more likely. And we even got news less than an hour ago on James Trafford. Now then, I'm going to do a bit of a look into James Trafford soon, and that's going to be a YouTube video for everyone to watch, because I want to get a video out, and I figured that can be like an analysis video on what we're getting with James Trafford, so potentially. First time in your stream in over a week glimpse. Well, welcome to a stream glimpse. To be fair, I've not been as live as much. Like, I was live yesterday, but I wasn't live for the 2 days before. But big ups to you, Glimpse. Hope you're doing good, man. Now then, yeah, we've just had some breaking news on this transfer. I know a lot about James Trafford. Of course you do, yeah, because yeah, that does make sense, to be fair. Now let's go scroll back until about, yeah, this is where we got up to yesterday. So look, news is coming through, but it is a bit slow. But 21 hours ago, we didn't cover this. Galatasaray have now reached an agreement with Ederson on all terms, apparently, with negotiations over a transfer fee now underway, reporting Yagosa Bunkuoglu. It's looking like a pretty good summer for Galatasaray. I won't lie. You know his house address and IP. Well, if you do, feel free to keep that to yourself. It's looking like a good summer for Galatasaray fans and club, to be fair. Osimhen coming in for about 80 million euros in total, and Ederson coming in too, potentially. But Fabrizio came out of this. Man City expect to meet Galatasaray to approach with opening bid for Ederson soon. Talks are already ongoing with the Brazilian keeper, while club-to-club negotiations are yet to start. Man City are working on James Trafford as new goalkeeper. Bit of a weird one, isn't it? We never see players like come back to the club like this. I know we had Gundo, but like I can't remember a time where we paid money for a player to come back. Nottingham Forest are set to advance in their pursuit of James McAtee this week. That might tell you that Gibbs White transfer is going to be 100% going through. Our valuation of James McAtee is proving a stumbling block for suitors, with most hoping for a 20 to 25 million deal. Having spent some time in Germany recently, McAtee is believed to have been impressed with what he saw from Frankfurt and Dortmund. But we're saying 35 million. So it is like a solid gap valuation. For some clubs, that'll be a 15 million gap, almost double the price. Galatasaray actually makes some good signings, especially for a Turkish team. Yeah, I know, Osimhen, that here we go, is looking likely to be on the way. And like I just said, Ederson as well. And like they've brought in like big players in the past too. Not like world beaters, but like solid level players. Like Mertens, for example, I know it was like the back end of his career, but like he went there. Am I wrong in saying that Zaha went there as well? They've brought in some solid players in the past. Senior sources have played down talk of an exit for Ederson to Galatasaray. Ortega's future remains some source of uncertainty. Once that has come out, new news has come out a bit more as of late. Newcastle identified Trafford as the leading target for a goalkeeper, but the goalkeeper said this yesterday. The moment he would have heard that City are in for him, he would have turned his head to Man City. Burnley have been holding out for up to 40 million, but City are not thought to be willing to pay as much as that. Which I don't blame them. I don't blame us, to be fair. It's not like I know some good things at Burnley, but is he a £40 million goalkeeper? For someone that just got promoted back into the Prem? I don't know. But he is a solid keeper. One minute. Let's just say extra. Just doing a little update. Now then, we just read that. Girona prioritised the loaning of Vital Hayes as optimistic of the deal. 19-year-old open to move. Why'd we sign him? I don't get it. I don't understand why we signed Vital Hayes. We made a distinct effort to bring Vital Hayes in January as opposed to the summer. Now, then you could argue, oh, we wanted to beat other clubs too. Fair enough. Okay, sure. But we prioritised bringing him in, and we even said we want to bring him into the first team now as opposed to keep him on loan at Palmeiras until the summer. We said we'll bring him in now. We spent 35 million on this guy. The same amount we spent on Shirky. The same amount we spent on Ait Nouri. You know, it's in that area. And he's going on loan. I don't think we're losing any of our centre-backs this summer. Unless it's loan moves. Oh gosh, it stinks, doesn't it? Focus on the Cole Palmer performance versus PSG. He had 2 goals, 1 assist, wasn't it? Pretty good, to be fair. Turned up. Sunderland making some good signings, spending a lot of money. Yeah, 100 million so far, isn't it? Spending a lot, but they've really got to hope that works out for them because financial fair play might come back to bite them potentially. Good Stockport for a friendly. Alright, good luck. Yeah, Cole Palmer had a really good game though. Definitely turned down some haters. Here's the biggest thing as of late. James Trafford has accepted a return to Man City if they can reach an agreement with Burnley on the transfer fee. The keeper is keen on the move. This was a Fabrizio bomb that we had here. Here he is. The exclusive story. Trafford has accepted the return. And City are in talks with Burnley to reduce to 40 million, and it still depends on whether Ederson does move on his way. Try to find the latest update here. Not really sure what is going to happen with Eddie at the moment. It does seem to be a bit up in the air. This was the latest we had, which I believe we covered. Trafford's a good keeper, but is he there to replace Ederson as number 1? I think he is. He's coming regardless of which keeper leaves. I think what's going to be the case is, if Ederson goes, he becomes him and Ortega fight for number 1 spot. Okay, probably given to Ortega to begin, but I think Trafford will fight for it. If he doesn't, if it's Ortega who leaves and Ederson stays, Trafford goes on bench, becomes the backup keeper, and then Ederson leaves in a season or 2, and then Trafford becomes number 1. Bringing a championship keeper to start next season is a big risk, but I think he's a great keeper. He had a good season with Burnley. That's all I really know to my knowledge. He was highly rated in the City Academy as well. Did really good things with England under-21s as well. So he's done a lot of good things for his current time. You know, he's very young. He's a very young keeper to be coming into the club. You know, he's only 22, 23 in October. So, you know, it's not like he's 18, but he's still very young. And I'm not just too sure how old Ederson was when we bought him in. Ederson would have been a similar age, to be fair. Obviously a bit more experienced because he was at Benfica. A bit more because he was at Benfica. But overall, yeah, it's a weird one. Like I say, it's championship keeper. He's coming up. He's not had tons of experience at the top level. You know, he had that season in the Prem, which obviously wasn't spectacular for him or Burnley. But then a lot of it's been loan spells at Bolton and I believe other clubs. That's really the latest on it. I do think we're going to get James Trafford though, no matter who comes in. Why wouldn't Ederson go to Saudi? Don't think we really had offers. I'll be honest with you. It's either that or he wants to stay at a top level-ish. It's mad how he went from winning UCL at Chelsea It's mad how Mendy went from winning UCL at Chelsea and best keeper in the world, just a decent keeper in Saudi. Yeah, I know. I remember Mendy, man. I won't lie. I remember Mendy when he was like on absolute gas. Like Mendy, I think Mendy's looked back on a little too harshly by certain fans. Like a lot of people look back now on Mendy, not necessarily Chelsea fans, okay, but I see a lot of people like looking back on him and like, oh, this guy, they had Mendy in goal. But like, I'm sorry, just to put my bias aside, I remember Mendy being pretty good. You'd bought him in after Kepa had been awful. He was your new keeper, and he was one of the like one of your best. He was like a pretty solid keeper for a while. Don't get me wrong, he didn't keep it up forever. Like you say, he did have some bad performances, especially by the time of his end. But I know I feel like he's looked back on a bit too harshly. I only remember him being like a pretty solid keeper, to be fair. He was never, well, he was, to be fair, like up there, to be fair, for a time, he was up there for best keeper award, like you said. If he didn't win it, he was definitely up there. And overall, he was like easily one of the better keepers in the league as well. But in terms of City news, Trafford is looking like a buy for City. I want this move if we do lose one of our keepers, because I do like the look of James Trafford. Now, in keeping to look at, we'll have a look at this by City Extra real quick. We sold Trafford for 19 million pounds, and we put in a buyback clause of 40 million. We put in a buyback clause of 40 million quid, so about double what they paid for him. So I don't really blame City for not really wanting to go for that. But ultimately, Burnley are also going to want to profit for a young keeper who has shown good signs, to be fair. I think Burnley are going to push for 40. I think we're looking at 25. So there's a decent price gap there. But I think we can actually manage to get it to 30. And then in add-ons, maybe put it up to 40. Or even do 25 million pounds, 5 million super easy add-ons, then 10 million easy to medium difficulty add-ons as it goes on. This is the thing with Trafford. He's young, which is good. Okay, I've been saying, one of the main things I've been saying is I'm a little worried about our goalkeeper's age. I just told you how old Ederson is. He's 31. Ortega, I believe, is like 33. They're aging, and I know goalkeepers can perform a little bit, like they can perform for longer at the top level. To be fair, like look at Neuer, he's like 39, something like that. Look at Thibaut Courtois, he's like 34, 33, and he's about to pen a new contract. Apologies for the sirens. He's about to extend his contract at Madrid. So I know goalkeepers can go on a bit longer, but I don't like the fact that we have two keepers that are that old. Okay, and I'm not even counting Bettinelli. We got a goalkeeper's 31 and a goalkeeper's 32. I just checked for Ortega. Getting rid of one and bringing in someone younger is a class act, in my opinion. You're bringing in someone a bit more long term, even if you don't quite trust him yet. You're going to be giving him cup games for a short while. Okay, so he's going to get the FA Cup games, he's going to get Carabao Cup games, and whoever's the number one gets obviously all the Premier League and Champions League. Okay, and if Trafford's lucky, depending on our Champions League position, we will even he may even get like a Champions League game here or there. So he's going to get a lot of games regardless, Trafford. But as for how that goes, obviously our current keepers, they've got a good bit of them left in the top level, but they haven't got forever. So they've got a couple of years, and then in a couple of years, Trafford's going to know their squad inside and out, and then he'll become the number one and replace. Donnarumma still has another 10 years in a minimum. You see, that's what I think Real Madrid are doing. Trust me, you heard it here first. I said it in previous streams. I don't think Donnarumma's going to extend his contract. I don't think he is. I think he's going to wait for Real Madrid to stop by, and I think he's going to go there. He's got 1 year left on his deal. Real Madrid are about to extend Thibaut Courtois to 2027. Donnarumma comes in the 26 to 27 season. Okay, they keep both keepers at the club for a bit, and then Courtois gets moved on. Donnarumma takes on the shirt fully and properly. I'm fairly certain that's how that's going to go. You're hearing it now. Yes, Elijah! Big ups to you. Sorry, you caught us in a moment when we weren't talking about Man City. We will bounce back to here. Now then, again, with Trafford, he is highly rated. Huge thing about this deal as well, he's homegrown. Homegrown's been a thing, a lot of City fans, and just, yeah, a lot of City fans, again, I've mentioned it as well, is something that we've got to worry about. And Trafford is homegrown. City fans are cooking me. They tell me James Trafford could be the Man City Buffon. They said I was being disrespectful to these City fans. For me, it's not right to put pressure on a goalkeeper or on anyone. Okay, it's not right to put that kind of pressure on a player. Like, don't get me wrong, I find it funny. I like Messi. I like Messi. I think it's a funny nickname, but I think it's just the expectations can be quite high. Jack Grealish coming in for 100 million. Expectations were huge. Okay, he was the most expensive English signing ever at that time. The tags that players get when they join clubs, sometimes it's just huge. Shirky, thankfully, I think avoided the KDB replacement quotes for the most part. Reinders hasn't been given anything like that. And same with Vainari. Trafford had one good season and fans acting like he's the best goalkeeper in the world. If James Trafford concedes a goal in his first season, you should send him to hell. Might have to, as long as you give us 60 million. Trafford had one good season and fans acting like he's the best in the world. He's got a lot. I think there's good in him. I think he's very well a keeper that can go to good places, especially at a club like us. Hopefully. I do think there is a good player in Trafford. He's done brilliant things at Burnley. Okay, and more importantly, he's done brilliant things. Well, you could argue more importantly, not for me, but he's more importantly on an international level. He's done really good things for the England under 21s as well. He's done really good things there. James Trafford is, I don't think he was, kind of what Glimpse is kind of adhering to here. I don't think he was the issue, for example, at Burnley, especially in that relegation season. In the season that Burnley have come up, he's obviously been a big part of that defence. Their defence obviously been, I'm going to guess anyway, Glimpse will correct me. Their defence obviously been key. They've obviously been a very defensive team, Burnley, nicking a goal or two. Elijah, I get what Glimpse is saying. But Burnley on a whole weren't great that season. Burnley on a whole weren't great. I'm not going to say he had a top season and should have won Golden Glove. But it's kind of like... I'm trying to think of the words. I'm trying to think of the words right now. I don't think because he got relegated and Burnley finished wherever in the league that season, don't know if it was 18th, 19th or 20th, wherever they finished, I don't think that means he was like horrific. He wasn't brilliant. Okay, I'm not gonna lie. He wasn't like the one thing keeping Burnley up or anything like that. But he wasn't like, it wasn't like you were watching him and you were like, oh, oof. Like, ooh, he's costing Burnley here. They gotta get a new keeper in, otherwise they're going to go down. But people believe Burnley would surprise everyone in 23-24. And yeah, I was a part of that boat too. I think I said that Burnley would finish like 13th or 14th. You know, but that doesn't mean Trafford necessarily was horrific. You know, it means that the whole squad wasn't brilliant. You know, it's like if you put Messi. I'm not saying Trafford's Messi, but it's like if you put Messi in Forest Green Rovers, for example. All right, does Forest Green Rovers suddenly like become phenomenal? No, they just have a phenomenal player. Okay, but does that mean Messi can carry them all the way to the Premier League? No, he probably wins some individual games, okay, but ultimately football's a team game. Okay, and having one player, even one player that is messing up every game, can drag it down a bit. You know, and when you have a whole team that just can't quite nail it at the top level, then they're all going to look bad. Hence Trafford. Okay, now I'm not saying that Trafford was the shining light in Burnley's team, but what I will say is that he's definitely a solid keeper. He's definitely to keep an eye out. It's a risk. It's a risk. I'm mature enough to say that this is a risky bit of business from City, but at the same time, I feel like it's not the worst business ever. We have Ortega. Okay, let's just say Ederson leaves. We have Ortega, who's not a bad choice. I do have question marks, and I would be a bit worried, just as I would Trafford. You know, I'd be worried for them both to be our number ones, but I'd back them every single game and hope that they cooked. And what Glimpse says here is not correct either. What if Trafford was so bad? Why did he immediately start? He's young and lots of potential. I just don't believe Trafford should start as 21 as number one. I think you're not wrong for thinking that, Elijah. I think it's a risk. It does worry me a bit. You know, goalkeeper is such a pivotal role in every team now. You know, it's definitely a risk. You know, it worries me a little bit. You know, like you say, he's a player that hasn't got tons of experience at the top level. You know, I did say I'm not going to look into Trafford stats too much because I want to do an analysis video. But let's just have a quick brief look at James Trafford. You know, this is his time at clubs. He's played 74 games for Bolton, 73 for Burnley, 11 for Accrington. So let's do the math here, guys. 11. I'm not counting like Man City under 23s. I'll blink at. Yeah, I'm not counting any of that. So 11 games at Accrington, 84 added with Burnley, and 158 with Bolton. It's not a ton. It is a good amount, but it's not like an absolute ton. There is every chance that Trafford joins the club and potentially falls away. Defensive midfield, attack can push for the title, but goalkeeper, I have no idea. We are trying to win the league next season. Why would we trust Trafford as number one, who's inexperienced? What I will say, Glimpse. What I will say, Elijah. Okay, is let's look at Ederson real quick. Okay, similar age profile when he joined the club. Okay, now then, I will point out distinct differences that helped out Ederson a bit. But when we signed Ederson, these were the teams he'd played for. He played 58. Do the math. 122, and then if you want to count Benfica B, 126 games in his career. Now then, at Benfica, I imagine he probably had a bit of European football in there, to be fair, and obviously impressed. That's less games than Trafford. Now then, what I will say is, Ederson did it more at the top level. Okay, did it probably, like I just said, he probably had some Europa games, you know, he didn't get these Europa League games with us. And yeah, he's had a lot of experience. He had a good bit of experience at the top level, probably a bit in the Champions League as well. So I 100% get where you're coming from. Trafford's a risk. He hasn't got any European experience. He's hardly got any Premier League experience. But Ederson was a risk too. You know? Ederson was a risk, as is Trafford. Ederson less of a risk, but both were still risky. Ultimately, okay, unless you're signing a goalkeeper who is one of the best in the world, Donnarumma, Courtois, Alisson, and more, okay, unless you're signing one of the top dogs, I think most goalkeepers are a risk. And yeah, shot stopping is an upgrade, but I'm worried if Ederson or Lee Trafford is number one. I'm worried too. And yeah, if we do sign Trafford and both of the other two goalkeepers go, we're gonna sign in some guy to be our backup, I think. Bettinelli, in my opinion, is our third choice. So we'll either bring another academy goalkeeper through the ranks, and make them our like number 3/2, or we'll just sign in some random guy on the cheap. I get what you're saying though. I'm 100% worried as well. I'm in your boat, Elijah, but I'm just being a bit more fair on Trafford. I'm not saying that he's the shining light of all young goalkeepers in the world. No. I think Mamadashvili is probably the best young goalkeeper in the world right now. Off the top of my head, Chevalier, who we've already spoken about a lot, and that guy that's just joined Barca. A random guy on the cheap or on the street. On the cheap in Glimpse. I mean, if we find someone on the street who's good enough to be our backup goalkeeper, sick. But no, it's probably going to be someone on the cheap Glimpse. I don't. No, just to clarify there. Yeah, I'm definitely in your boat, Elijah. But I'm just bigging up Trafford a little bit. Is basically what I'm doing. You know. Just bigging him up a little. But hey, we've got a good stream out of this. I've quite enjoyed this talk. Nothing new on this. We'll quickly check out Fabrizio, see what he's got to say. Yeah, it seems to be Osimhen, the latest stuff. This guy leaving Juventus. Rashford to Barca, by the way. This kind of like a little bit came out of nowhere. He'd always been a little bit linked, but like it really got moving like the last 24 hours. Robert Sanchez has convinced me he should be our starting keeper. He was cast in the Club World Cup and won the Golden Glove. I was actually going to mention that, not Robert Sanchez, but congrats to him, I guess. But Petrovic. I know you're a fan of Petrovic, Glimpse. He's now joined Bournemouth. How do you think he'll do? Yeah, nothing huge. Nothing huge here. Man United looking to sign a new keeper. And Buemo joining United, 5-year deal. Gyökeres not going anywhere else but Arsenal. 11 million deal there. Weah wants Marseille. Forest bid for Dan Ndoye. Oh! Oh, that's a spanner in the works. Oh, that's a spanner on the works. Street to forget. What a hero, man. That's brilliant keeping. Man, Sunderland. It's not often you see that. All right then. Loriente's back on his way home. Not gonna lie, FIFA 24, that guy would cook my Bristol team. Where is Hayes going? Oh man, I know. I don't get why we signed him. I really don't. I don't understand why we would sign him. You know, we were so adamant in bringing this guy in. Why did we sign him? Don't get me wrong. I'm fine. I'm fine with him going on loan. A little, kind of, not really actually, because it means I don't think I'm going to sell defenders now, and which means we've still got 2 injury-prone defenders. I don't think Stone's going anywhere. I don't think Ake's going anywhere. We've still got 2 injury-prone defenders. Akanji, who just had a pretty poor season. Diaz, who just had a pretty poor season. Kusanov's like the shining light, as is Vardiol. Hayes, we were so adamant in bringing him in January. You know, we paid a little bit extra to bring him in January. You know, we didn't play him at all. Okay, fine. Maybe we're going to play him a little later on then. Don't play him. We barely play him in the Club World Cup. And now we're like, okay, we'll loan you. Why did we even pay the extra? You could argue it was to jump the gun and bring him into the club before any other team could, I guess. How many UCLs and Prems did you win with Bristol? It's a good question, Glimpse. I'm just trying to think of where I won stuff. So, first season, second season, absolute cinema. I actually won the Carabao Cup. You should have seen it. Last minute winner from Hugo Ekitike. No, Ekitike, but he's just gone to Liverpool. I wish. Nketiah, that Arsenal striker, last minute winner against Man United. You should have seen it. It was scenes. But yeah, he got that. Then, because we went to Carabao Cup, we went to Conference League. I think we lost Conference League, but we qualified for the Europa League anyway, and then we won Europa League, and then we won the Premier League, but lost in the Champions League. Following season, lost the Premier League, won the Champions. I'm really trying to jog this back into my head. Won the Premier League and FA Cup. I think we did the domestic treble in terms of FA Cup, Premier League, Carabao Cup, but we didn't win Champions League. Then we won Champions League and Premier League. Then it was Premier League, Champions League, Carabao. Then it was Premier League, Champions League, FA Cup. I really wanted to do quadruple. And then when I won Europa League, did we finish top 4? I think we did. Yeah. And then in my final season, I believe I won the quadruple. But again, I was really trying to dig deep for that as well. But look, I think we'll call it there. This has been a good stream, though. I've enjoyed this one. James Trafford could be on the way back home to the club. Big ups to everyone who's tuning Big ups to everyone tuning in. Oh, wait there. Greaves was good for you. He's been in this season career mode. He's still in my team. It's like 5 years down the line or however long. He's like 29 years old and he is still in my team. He's like 85 rated, bro. He's an actual brick wall at the back. He plays alongside Kubasi at Barcelona. Bought him in on loan at the start of the career mode. Signed him. It was a loan to buy. Signed him for like 5 million. No, it's a bit more. I think it was like 17 million, but because we did decent in the league, we bought in quite a bit of cash, and I managed to bring him in on a permanent. But those two play alongside each other. What a partnership. But look, big ups to everyone who's tuned in today. We got 8 people tuning in, so make sure to hit the like if you haven't already. I'm trying to bring back daily streams. Tons of weird stuff been going on lately, guys, but hopefully we're back on track. But big ups to everyone who tuned in. Glimpse, active basically from the start. RTD Edits, Elijah Lawson, and everyone else along the way. If you haven't liked the stream already, make sure you do so. We're like 1 away from 10 likes, so we might as well just get 10 likes now, Blue. So let's try and get that. If you haven't, we're on 10 likes, nice. If you haven't subscribed, make sure to subscribe. Every sub helps the channel. And turn on the notification bell so you don't miss my next stream. Hopefully tomorrow. Who knows? Trafford, here we go. Ederson, here we go. We will be there. Big ups to you all, Blues. I'll see you all in the next one.